that was basically the turning point on getting clients in the door. It was like finding that unique channel that no one else was really using.
All right, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In this one, I'm interviewing Karston Fox. He's in Dayton, Ohio, runs a very cool company helping agencies with appointment setting as well as tons of other businesses. And he's an absolute savage when it comes to setting appointments, using social media, texting, cold email, all that good stuff. So we're going to get a lot of nuggets dropped today. I watched a testimonial video that Karston got earlier today, and the guy said, literally, there is not a video on YouTube that has these kinds of strategies. So what he's doing is super unique, and he's really good at automating everything and just making it your life as a prospecting and salesperson at the beginning of starting your agency and at any stage of starting your agency a lot easier. So Karston, thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And we actually connected a while ago, like almost 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
And then Karston has a long journey that he'll explain. And then we're teaming up now. Karston is the other coach inside of the coaching program that I host. So we're super excited to have him in there. He's already helping a ton of people get great results inside the program. And we're looking forward to what else he can bring. So let's dive into your story, man. Tell us, let's start. You're pretty young. You're what, 21?
Yeah.
Cool. So walk us back to 2 years ago when you started, or even before then. Like, what made you want to become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I don't growing up. It was always about I was poor, so it wasn't very fun. And I think what you lack as a child, you kind of want to make up for as an adult. My grandpa was also an entrepreneur, so I was always like, I want to be like him. So I remember we would just do some weird odd jobs. I remember one time we would clean out, me and my sisters would clean out rabbit cages for money.
Wow.
We would sell marshmallow guns for money.
Okay.
And it's just all these weird things to make money over the summer so that, we could just do what we wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of the very, very beginning. So I guess got started there. And then, and growing up when you have all these problems and your parents struggle with money and all that stuff. And even though they're better off now, but back then when it was really tough, it was like, man, I never want to be in a position where I have to struggle this much, or I have to stress, I have to cry over money, So I really wanted to be in a position where I didn't have to do that anymore. So I basically set it, made a commitment to, I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure that I don't have to worry about these problems. So, yeah.
Very cool. And then you graduated high school and you didn't know what was next, and you found SMMA, or what's that story?
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. It's just funny because I graduated when I was 16. I was homeschooled. Wow. And when I graduated, I started working with a real estate agent, and I basically just worked in his office. And it was cool at the time. It was I looked way more professional than any other 16-year-old. But I hated that job just because it was I just saw what he did all the time, and it was man, I would hate to be caught up and just take. I mean, obviously, I take all the calls in the world right now, but it looked like he never got a break. And so I was like, man, I would hate to be him. I don't want to end up like that. And if I continue on this path, he was going to pay for my real estate school and all this stuff. And I was like, if I continue on that path, I'm going to end up like him. So I took a video of me saying, I want to quit my job. And then I sent him a text, and I was like, I took a video of all this stuff. And then I quit my job. I went home. My mom yells at me for quitting my job because it was this path that, was cool and everything. But I was like, I do not want to be that. So I was 17 at that time, about to turn 18. And I said to myself, I'm just going to try to do whatever I can before I turn 18 because I want to, I don't know, because when I turn 18, I have responsibilities. So I started doing YouTube videos, just doing all types of stuff. I didn't know what to do. And so every day I was just sitting at home, not doing anything, not working. And so I just started reading books. And so every single day I would read a whole book. The first book I read was How to Win Friends and Influence People. And it was life-changing to me. So I was like, man, I got to read more of these. And, you read Proverbs in the Bible, and it's the best thing to do is get wisdom. And to get wisdom, all you have to do is get wisdom. So you just go find people that have wisdom. And so I was like, how do I get more wisdom? How do I get more wisdom? And so I read probably 100 books over the course of this time. And then I still didn't know what to do. And so which is a big takeaway that I got from starting my journey, which is I had analysis paralysis, which is like, I didn't know what to do with my life. I was like, everyone was saying you have to do one thing and you have to do it really well. And you have to stick for it for the rest of your life. And you can't change. And I don't know. It's like all this stuff. And so that makes it really hard when you're like 17, 18, and you're like, I don't know what to do with my life. And if I pick something, I can't change it whatsoever. And it's like, do I really want to do that? Or do I really want to do this? And so it made it really hard to make any decisions when I did that. And so I found Sam Ovens, found his stuff. I bought his course. I found.
And you're what, like 17, 18 at this point?
Yeah, I was 18. I had to get a job. So it was like over the summer, I basically didn't, from 17 to 18, I didn't have a job, just reading these books. Eventually I ran out of money. So I was like, I got to get some money. So I got a job at an Apple store and I was able to earn more money. Bought these courses, and I bought like, there's this guy named Jason Capital. He sold these random courses on hey, how to start this company, whatever. And so I bought just random stuff, Ty Lopez stuff, and just trying to figure out what do I do. And it was still a struggle, even though, I had all this, like spent probably a couple $1,000s already on courses trying to figure out what to do. Still couldn't think of anything because I was really bad at making that decision of like, I got to stick to something forever. Yeah. And then I was able to get a job with someone. I had an online business. And so I basically was under him. I did ads for him and everything. And I paid for like a $5,000 coach to help me figure out what I should do with my business and or all this stuff. I paid you for coaching at one point. And I still couldn't figure out what to do.
It wasn't $5,000, right?
Yeah, no. It's not that call, yeah. I paid another coach $5,000, yeah. So then at the end of 2020, I just thought to myself, what if I just tried to do something for 1 year? What if I just tried 1 year to stick to something? And if I didn't like it, so what? It was a year. I still got the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. And that decision really helped me to get to where I am today. So if you're having a hard time making a decision, just commit to something for a year. And then after that, if it doesn't work, who cares? So that's what I did. I said, look, I'm just going to try this for a year. I looked at all these different business models of what I could do. I decided, let me just do an agency because I kind of already did ads in the past. So let me try to do ads now. And obviously you don't need to have any experience if you're trying to start an agency, but I just had experience. So I was like, let me just go down that path. And then I started my agency. It was a lot of ups and downs. So basically January 2021, I was like, I'm going to do this for a year. Going to try to build it to $1 million. And I didn't do that, but I documented my entire journey on YouTube of like each month I would make a video of like, this is where I am, this is what's happening. And so at one point, I got my first agency client in like February. So I was like doing all this outreach over the course of a month. Mm-hmm. My first client was a pest control client, and he was like the most nightmare client I could think of. Like I made no money off the deal because he paid me $600 and I paid the white label partner $600. So I made nothing. Mm-hmm. And he was coming to me constantly with problems. And then I had to give him a refund.
How did you find that first client?
I found the first client by reaching out to people on Facebook. So I reached out to Facebook pages on Facebook, just saying, hey, I'm in the area, whatever, doing all that. Nice. Manual, back and forth.
This is the first, you found him a month or 2 months into your experiment of trying to make $1 million in a year?
About a month. So it was like very end of January. And then I think he signed at the beginning of February. So about a week apart by the time I found him. And so that was that. Yeah. And so I had other sales calls too that kind of happened. Some from LinkedIn, some from Facebook. But then I continued I did cold email a little bit as well. But continued to target pest control. I went to California with my mom. She does travel nursing. So I just let me just hang out with my mom and go there. Nice. So it was pretty nice just to sit there and work on the business all day. But it was really hard because, and I talked to a lot of people that they have the same problem, which is I don't know what to do all day. Like what is my schedule? Like I'm starting this business, but now what do I do? So it's like, you don't know what to fill your calendar with. Yeah. And so I only was able to get like 2 to 3 sales calls a week with cold email. That's what I was doing. And like just trying to do Facebook outreach manually. And I was like, okay, this isn't working. I need to be able to fill my calendar more. How do I fill my calendar more? So I started cold calling while I was in California and that one really didn't work, and which it can work, but for me, it just wasn't working. And just trying all these different things. And I bought another course. Like I just saw a Facebook ad and I clicked on the ad and it was about how to get more appointments for $5. And so I bought that course and I bought all these different things trying to figure out how do I get more appointments? How do I get more appointments? So basically for a couple of weeks, I was just trying to figure out how do I do this. And I made a video in February of 2021 saying, I don't know if I'll be able to keep going with the agency because I'm not making any money and I have to make money. So I might have to go get a job and go back to normal life because I can't get anywhere to, I can't get to more than 2 to 3 sales calls a week. I need to fix this problem somehow. And so I bought this course.
Sorry, just to interrupt. I think you say like 2 to 3 sales calls a week is like not a lot. And any beginner listening to this would be like, wow, 2 to 3 sales calls a week. That's awesome. But how much effort were you putting in when it came to the cold email side of things? Like, was it an automation that you set up to get those 2 to 3 sales calls a week?
Yeah. So the first things were, I use this tool called GMass, which for any beginner, I still recommend it. It's a free extension tool that you can use for your Gmail account. You have to warm up your email account. So it takes a month to warm it up. But the problem is that with cold email and with almost any platform that you're using, you're limited to a certain number. So cold email, you have to warm up the account and then you're only limited to like 50 emails a day. And if you do any more than that, then your emails will start going to spam. So it's just worthless to send. Same with Facebook. You can only really send 50 a day. LinkedIn, depending on what tool you're using, you can send 20 to 100 per day. So you're limited based on the platform that you're using. So that was the problem. Is that I'm limited.
Wait, so you were sending what, like 500 emails a week and getting 2 sales calls?
Yeah. Okay. No, it was more like 50 sales calls a day. So I'm sorry, 50 emails a day. That's 250 a week. Yeah.
Okay.
And I was getting lists from like D7 Lead Finder and just putting them in there and just trying to get leads.
Cool.
So that's how I started.
Going back, you bought the course. That's where you were.
Yeah, I got this course. It was supposed to teach me how to get more appointments through Facebook ads. It didn't help me do that, but I learned how to use Go High Level through it. And then with Go High Level, they had a feature which was texting. And I was like, well, if I have these lists that give me emails and they also give me phone numbers, why don't I take these phone numbers and try to plug them into Go High Level and try to text all these people? And if I text these people, I know in my head that people read more text than they read emails. And all I have to do is look human when I send it out. And so if I look human, then I should get some responses. So I made a video saying, I don't know if I'll be able to keep going. The very next video, I was getting 10 sales calls a day from sending these text messages out. So I just started sending 100 messages out per day. And then like people respond. And so I was like, holy cow, I was sitting all day basically responding to messages saying, yes, let's hop on a call tomorrow. Let's do this, let's do that.
Yeah.
And so the very next video was, I don't know if I'll be able to keep up with all these sales calls. And now it's a problem of scale, which is also like, it's an awesome problem to have. But so it went from, I don't know if I can keep going to I have way too much work to handle. And I remember my first day back in Ohio, I had like 10 sales calls in a row and I was just sitting at the computer like, hey, blah, 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 and just repeating the spiel over and over again. And I landed all these clients. And so that was basically the turning point on getting clients in the door. It was like finding that unique channel that no one else was really using.
Nice. And that was for solar companies, right?
Yeah. So I started in pest control. My white label partner was like, you're in California. Why don't you just try to target solar companies? And then I was like, all right, whatever. So I started reaching out to solar companies at the same time. And then that's when I started, with the,
nice. Okay.
Which is obviously also a very targeted niche and very hard to, get calls for. And so I was still able to get all these calls.
Very cool. So you landed what, like 10 solar clients in a week or something like that?
Yeah, it was probably more like 6 or 7, but still I had all these clients. And then I was I don't know how to do solar ads. I was the last white label partner. He didn't fulfill on his promises or whatever. So I didn't want to use him for the solar stuff because like he was doing a bad job with the pest control stuff. Yeah. So I tried to figure out how to do solar ads myself. I paid some guy to teach me how to do solar ads. And basically it didn't work long term. So I would get a client, they would, do it for a month and then they're like, well, we're not getting results and I want to leave. So then I would just have this high churn or churn, whatever it's called. And so then I said, well, okay, I don't want to keep getting clients if they're just going to keep leaving because it's really not fair to them. or to me. So I just basically stopped reaching out to solar clients, and I had a few of them that were a few companies that wanted to do B2B stuff. Like I had roofing clients that wanted to target solar companies and wanted to reach out to solar companies the same way I was, via text. Because if a roofing company, if a solar company sells a solar roof and the roof is bad, they need to fix the roof first. And so the roofing company wants to connect with these solar companies so that they can get those roofing jobs as like referrals.
Nice.
So that was something that like a client kept on for that. But I basically stopped doing everything, and I just kind of stopped for a couple months, and I didn't know what to do. I was like thinking about, let me just go back and get another job. And I did at one point. I worked at some place for a month, and it was the worst experience of my life to be back at this job, because I was like, I know the potential of what I could be doing right now. And I'm sitting at this 9 to 5, sucking my time. I was doing 200 calls a day, just calling trucking companies and all this stuff. And it was very annoying. And I needed to pay rent and all this stuff, but the company, it's funny, when I put my banking information in, I was one number off. And so basically all my money was going to somebody else's account. And so the HR said, we can't really fix anything up with this. And so basically I worked for a month and I didn't get paid. We were able to figure it out, but I basically quit. I was like, look, if you can't pay me, I'm just going to quit. And so I quit, and I was like, I don't really know what to do. And I was like, well, I'll figure it out. God will, intervene, make a way. And I think a couple days later, I was just scrolling through Facebook, and I saw someone posting saying, does anyone need help getting appointments? And I said, well, I was able to get 10 calls a day, like with my agency. So if people actually want this as a service, and like that post had like so many comments, hundreds of people saying, I need help. So I was like, well, if I was able to get 10 sales calls a day, why don't I just help other people get 10 sales calls a day, and they can fulfill, right? They can do the work on fulfilling the clients because they're good at that. And so I'm good at getting the sales calls. You can just do the fulfillment. And so then I literally just copied and pasted his exact post and reposted it. And from that, I got like 60 comments, and then I got my first couple clients out of that post. And so since then, I've just been helping agencies get more appointments on their calendar by optimizing all these different strategies. So that's the story.
Very cool. Very cool. The banking information is, I actually just watched a video on it yesterday, and I was like, oh my gosh, that banking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was just funny. It was like, you guys don't have any verification. Like, you guys just send my money to somebody else's account.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild. What a story, man. I think hopefully a takeaway that people are getting from this is it's not a straightforward path to whatever your version of success is,
Yeah.
It's a rocky,
which I think we have the kind of the same story in a way where it's like, I didn't choose something that everyone was saying, you have to be passionate about it, you have to love it, and you have to stick with it for the rest of your life. So those three things were making me very hesitant on picking anything. But once I picked something, when I was doing the stuff for the solar companies and the pest control, I loved it. It was fun. But I didn't think, before I started, I didn't think, oh, this is going to be fun. I'm going to love it. And what I do now, I love what I do, but I would have never thought that I was going to love B2B sales, right? Yeah. 2 years ago. So it's pretty cool.
That's really funny. It reminds me, I was watching Friends last night, and I don't know if you've seen Friends, have you?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, there's this episode, Chandler comes in, he quits his job because he's going to get a raise, and they're like, what? Like that was a temp job. Like, I can't believe they gave you a raise. That's awesome. And he's like, yeah, but I've been there for 5 years at his temp job. And then he goes to see a career counselor, and he comes back and he's like, 8 hours of career counseling, aptitude tests, all this stuff. And they just told me that I'm supposed to go back to data management, which is what he was in before. Yeah. And I thought it was really funny because everybody's like, oh, I have this dream. Like you were saying, your paralysis it's basically perfectionism is what you were describing. Like you had to be perfect on the first try. And I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday, said like when you're starting out, you're so scared to fail that like you end up failing in a much worse way than if you had just like actually failed, like once you started taking action and getting like kind of getting your head in the gutter with, your first 10 clients or whatever came through there and like failing on that taught you way more than just sitting there thinking about, what am I going to do next? And once you found something that didn't work, you're like, okay, you could have said, all right, I'm done, which, you kind of had to pay rent for a second. Or you can say, what skill am I good at? Like, of this whole picture, what do I already know how to do? And then you took that piece and like the strategies you come up with, like you just have a knack for like, oh, here's, how to do this. Here's how to do this.
Yeah.
And it seems like it comes easy to you. It's not necessarily like you're passionate about it, but you have a natural aptitude for it.
Yeah, that's something that like another thing is that you as a person, you will flow towards something. Like you don't have to consciously think of what do I need to, what do I need to do? What am I already good at? And so the things that I do now, when I look back over my life, it's funny because I try to break a lot of rules now in terms of like automations and all this stuff. And like, how do I get people's attention? We were just talking about this new idea I have for like adding people on an event on a calendar so that they get this calendar invite. And then they're like, who the heck is this calendar invite from? And so it gets them like interested in whatever you have to offer. And those little things that I come up with, I when I was younger, I was really good at cops and robbers. Whenever I worked somewhere, I was like, I'm not a thief. I never steal anything. But if I was a thief, how would I steal these iPads? It's just like these random things that I would come up with. Like, what can I do to work this out in a way that makes it work in my benefit? So, but I didn't think of that. Like, and then I reverse engineered that and then said, okay, how about I do this B2B sales? But it's like, because I would have never thought of it. But when I look back now, I'm like, okay, well, I guess these things connect in some way. Also, I make like YouTube videos and help people with the videos. And it's like, I've been making videos for so long and just as like a hobby. And so, it's just like, when I look back on it now, it looks like I had some sort of plan and purpose, but there was no plan to begin with.
Nice.
Yeah.
You can connect the dots looking backwards, but not forwards.
Yeah. And another thing was what we talked to. There was someone in the Slack channel that was like, "What do I say to this?" Like they're kind of hesitant about what to say, or like they're very like, "I don't know what to do with this action." Like, and because I guess they're limited in knowledge. But now that when we look at it, we're like, "Dude, just say this," or like, "It's not that big of a deal." If they don't reply to your message or whatever, if you're not, I don't know, if this one fails, like if you don't close this one client, it's like there's so many more. To us, we see it that way, but when you're beginning, you're like, I don't know if it's going to work, So, yeah.
Yeah, very cool. So I want to transition to like the advice that you would give to somebody starting out. So let's say I'm a brand new agency owner, like literally brand new, and I'm struggling to take the first steps in starting my agency. What would you tell me?
Yeah, so a lot of the things is that most of these courses and these gurus out here, they try to sell you the dream and the end result, which is their job, right? Is to sell you the dream and the end result, and that's your job as like an agency owner, is to sell that business owner the end result. But now that I look back on all the things that I've invested on in terms of like coaches and courses and all that stuff, I realize that the things that have helped me the most are things that are tools, and then learning how to use those tools. And so we have all these different tools at our disposal. And if we learn how to use those tools effectively, then we can build some amazing things, and we can do some amazing things with the tools. So think about if you knew how to code, like all the amazing things that you can, like the only reason we're able to connect right now is because someone learned how to build a computer and learn to code. And, and if you have if you think, I have this analogy is like, if I want to put a nail through a plank, right, that's 2x4, I can have all the motivation in the world. I can work as hard as I can to get this nail through the plank, but I can just get a hammer and go boop, boop. And it's like, I get it done so much easier than trying to just force it in there, with my hand. And so like this really simple tool helps me get the job done so much quicker. So one, invest in tools. Two, invest in learning how to use these tools effectively, because like Facebook ads is a tool. Facebook as a platform is a tool. And so if we learn how to use it effectively, we can, mold it into what we're trying to do with our end results. Do you want like more specifics?
Leverage. Yeah. So I think when you say tools, like it's become we understand what that means only because I've been talking to you about it every single day for the last, 4 weeks or whatever. But tell me as a beginning agency owner, what is a tool? Like, give me an example of something that I can use today to help me get clients.
Yeah. So you would look for tools that help you do repetitive tasks. That's the main thing.
Mm.
Or to, I guess that's because I'm trying to put it in a broader sense. But okay, when I said something about GMass, that's a tool that allows you to send cold emails through your Gmail account. And that's what I started using, and it was so helpful for me. And so it's like this free tool that I found, and it did so much in the beginning. And same with the Go High Level. Like, I would not be where I am if I never had found that. So these tools that allow you to automate this. So if you're doing an agency stuff, tools that allow you to automate things, or even there's a lot of different examples of tools, because like another one would be tools to get data. So if like, how do I get business owners' phone numbers and emails? How do I get their LinkedIn or Instagram accounts? And so there's separate tools for that. And so I guess finding tools that help you get more clients. And we can go into those specifics if you want, but yeah.
No, yeah. I like it. It reminds me of like making the first $100,000 is the hardest. Alex Hormozy has a short that just came out about that. It's like the first $100,000 is the hardest because you have no leverage. You're like, you have to learn everything yourself. You have to do everything yourself. And what you're saying is there's free or cheap tools that are available to the average, beginning business owner that basically takes your actions and amplifies them 10 times, making that first $100,000 the easiest, or 10K for most people right now, the like much easier than it is when you do things. So I think a good example, like why don't you show them the Prospect Connector Pro tool that we have in the program?
Yeah. So this is a really cool tool that I use almost every day. And it's really been one of the main things that has helped me to get to where I am. So
nice.
When I got this tool, it was $130 per month. And I had other people telling me, why the heck did you just spend $130 on that tool? But I can kind of just show you what it does. Basically, all it does is it's going to reach out to people. I tell it the message that I want it to send. Like, I want it to send my offer to people. Like, hey, I help you get more appointments for your agency.
Let's see that.
I help you get.
Can you show them the actual message you send?
Yeah. So go here to settings and let's go 40 points. So it's like, I know you probably get pitched a lot, but I just wanted to reach out and see if you're interested in getting 40 appointments booked per month. You open a chat, and so it's a message kind of like that. And then all it does is it will start trying to find people that are in your target audience. People that have like
you're at a Facebook group right now, right?
Yeah. So in a Facebook group, you just go to the members tab, go to members with things in common. And I have a whole video on how I literally just lay out how to do this entirely. It's like an hour-long video on my YouTube channel. But it'll find those people, and then it'll send them a friend request. As you can see, like all these people in here, I've already sent them a friend request because I've run this automation several times. And it'll send them a friend request, and then send them a message directly after sending the friend request saying, whatever message that we want to send, which was, hey, I just want to see if you're interested in this offer. So that's just one example of a tool that has, when I got this tool, I paid $130. People were telling me that, that was stupid for you to pay $130. And then within the first 3 weeks of using the tool, just the way that I just showed you how to use it, I got $8,900 out of the tool. So it's like, and now I'm closer to $10,000 per week just using this tool. So it's like, obviously it was a great investment,
Yeah. Incredible investment. So what about the alternative for those that don't understand, like when you're starting out your agency and you begin to do outreach, because I'm fully aware there's a lot of people watching this that, haven't even worked up the courage, so to speak, to go out and just talk to business owners or begin doing outreach. The alternative to what Karston just showed is actually searching, first of all, for the person in your niche. So going to the group, joining the group, looking through and seeing, okay, is this person actually in my niche, or are they another marketer or whatever? You have to go to their profile. You have to look that up. Then you have to send the friend request. Then you have to send the message, and you do all of that manually. And that's going to take probably 3 to 5 minutes per person. And then if, as we know, prospecting is all just a numbers game. So the more numbers you post, the more likely you are to get somebody actually on a sales call. So let's say you do that for an hour at 5 people or 1 person every 5 minutes on average. You're going to get, I don't know, how many is that an hour? Like 20 or?
Yeah, you can only send 10 messages per hour on Facebook anyway. So you would have to start, and then the next hour you do it again. And then, because that's what I did when I started, which is like, I have to wait another hour to send more messages.
So it's going to take it all day to actually go through and connect with the people. You're going to have to do it though. So in this case with Prospect Connector Pro, what's your daily workflow look like?
Yeah. So I literally, whatever I just showed you, which is just click start, it just starts running, and then that's all I have to do. So then messages will apply. And so another thing that I know that some people have an issue with is they're just afraid to send messages, or like they're afraid of like their image, and it's like they don't want to look bad for some reason. And so I guess I understand that, and I've been there before. But once you get to this point where it's like, I just send messages every single day, and it's like there is no care about my image, just because it's like it's all a numbers game. And I think Dan Kennedy says, if you haven't made someone mad by noon every day, then you're not marketing effectively. So
you're not marketing hard enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just press play, I let it run, and only about 3% of the market is ready to buy at any given time. And so what I'm looking for is really just a 3% positive reply rate. So I get probably about a 10% reply rate, and 5% of those 10% are positive, or 5% of the messages that I send out are positive replies. And so every day, if I send 50 messages, then I should get around 5 messages back. And then I would get maybe 2 to 3 positive replies saying, yes, I'm interested in your offer. And then I qualify further from there, and then I book the call.
Very cool. And eventually, if you get enough of this rolling in, you can just hire somebody to manage all the messages and only get the very most qualified appointments onto your calendar. It's very cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Very, very cool.
Same with like the SMS thing. Like you can, because Facebook is limited to 50 per day, but SMS you can send 3,000 per day if you want to. And you can book a ton of sales calls. But like, I don't even run that because I'm too busy as it is to take on all those sales calls. But
yeah. Very cool. How does it feel to be in this position? Like I genuinely mean this when I think like less than 1% of the market actually knows how to get consistent calls. And there's a lot of people with successful agencies that just haven't really mastered the call part. And like my agency, we would go sometimes a month without a call about a year ago. And like, we just didn't have like a consistent way of doing things. And I had people like you reaching out to me like, oh, we can book you like 60 calls a month. I'm like, the heck? Like, what would I do with 60 calls a month? Like, we can barely handle like 8 new clients a month. Like that would be our max, So, sorry, I'm trying to think what my original question was. First of all, how do you avoid going too high with it? And then like, why do you think that most of the market doesn't know how to do this?
Yeah. So what do you mean by too high with it? Like,
like if you went in and booked 40 calls for me, like, and we had our typical closing rate for the calls, like I'm worried that most of those calls are going to be unqualified, or they're going to no show or whatever. But let's say we have a 80% show rate, and then, of those, half are qualified. So we've got like 15 qualified prospects in a month from 40 calls. Like, is that reasonable, or what's how do I avoid wasting my time as someone who's a bit more established? This obviously doesn't apply to people starting out. So how would I avoid wasting my time getting on calls with people who aren't as qualified?
Yeah. So, someone asked this in the Slack group where they're like, how do you manage your time? And my answer was that when you're starting out, obviously you just want to focus on sales. So I just took on any call that I could. And so when I booked 10 sales calls a day, it's just like I wasn't really doing much qualification. I was just taking them on. Yeah. Now, when you're in a position where, like me and you, where we have just a whole bunch of other stuff to do all day, and we still want to live our life, we don't want to take on that many sales calls. And so to do that, in the beginning, you test everything. You do everything that you can to get sales calls. And then from those tests, you understand, and obviously you don't have to be super scientific. It would be better if you did, but for me, I just know that the calls that I get from texting are usually lower quality because they're just really broad in terms of like who I'm targeting. But I can close maybe about 10% of those. Cool. But on Facebook, I know that I close maybe about 65% of them, of the calls that I get, and it's easier to qualify on Facebook. And so right now, all I really do is run Facebook. So because I can take those 20 calls a month and no problem. It's pretty easy to do. I can still focus on what I need to do, and I can get that 65% close rate, and I'm happy. And so, when you're beginning, just do everything like, spray and pray, like do the LinkedIn, do email, do everything that you can. Try to get the best results out of each platform. And then once you figure out, okay, this works better than this, then we can narrow down and we can say, let's just focus on this and just go heavy on that one thing. So
very cool. And then why do you think that this is such a, I don't want to say misunderstood, but like underutilized? Like, I think the reason most people aren't entrepreneurs is because they don't get that prospecting is like possible. Like they're like, how would I get customers? Why do you think it's seen as hard, and why isn't it hard at the end of the day?
I think it's seen as hard because one, people's ego is involved, right? So it's like, I don't want to look bad. When you do a cold call, it's like, it's kind of scary, and you're like, I don't want to look bad in front of this person. Same with a message or anything else. Or if you're like door knocking, it's kind of like an ego thing. And the other thing is it looks hard. And I think people just don't, it's a lack of knowledge, right? So it's like, if you don't even know that the tool that we just showed you, if you didn't know that existed, like this could just change your life, right? This one video just change your life.
Yeah.
And it's the same with like when I learned about Go High Level, it's like that thing just, the only reason I'm here today is because I learned about that back then. So I think it's a lack of knowledge for people when they don't understand, like, how do I get more customers? And then what was the other question?
And like, why is it easy? Like, because it's like you live and breathe this stuff and it seems like quite easy to you. Is that the case?
Yeah. And so the reason it's so easy is because, I noticed the problem in the market, which was I have trouble getting sales calls. And I was like, people want consistent quality sales calls. So I just dedicated my time to figuring out, how do I get consistent quality sales calls? And it's so easy because I have these tools in place where I can just set it and forget it. And now I literally wake up every morning and there's like 10 messages on Facebook like, hey, Karston, can you help me? And it's honestly gets frustrating now. But, and which is cool to have that problem. And so, and Alex Ramosi, we talked about this video the other day, but he said something like, you want to do 100 actions in your business every day to like get new customers. And if you do 100 actions per day, you'll have more business than you know what to do with. And if I send 50 messages on Facebook and 50 messages on LinkedIn and 50 text messages, which is like 150 messages per day, you could easily book, I would say, 5 to 7 sales calls a day if you have a really good offer, right? So you want to know what the market wants first, but if you have a good offer.
Yeah, you're right. From 150 messages, that would be very reasonable, 5 to 7.
Yeah. So, if the offer, so if you're selling something that no one wants, like, hey, I can get you SEO, and like, I don't know, you just have to frame the offer to where it sounds good. But once you have something that works, then it's really easy to get appointments in the door. And then when you automate it, which is the tools, then it's just like, it just keeps flowing in and flowing in. Same with like Facebook ads. You just kind of automate it, let it run, it just goes and posts itself out, and then the leads just flow in, so.
Yeah, it's very cool. So tell me, like, let's elaborate a little bit more on what you actually put into the message, because I think that's a big thing that people get hung up on, or they don't get hung up on it at all, and they're sending out, like, some of the messages I've seen are just like, really? Like, you actually sent that out? Like, what do you coach people on when it comes to what they should put in the first message they send out? Because they really only have one chance to get somebody to pay attention, right?
Yeah. So first thing is that even though you do have one chance, the market is so huge. So don't worry about like if you did something wrong. Just consistently take action. But when it comes to the message, always be human and always have a really good offer. So that's the main two things. I have like these 3 key frameworks, which is like having a unique offer, having a unique audience, and having a unique channel to find those people. So if I want to target solar companies, I want to offer them 10 solar installs per month, which is what they want. And that's what they told me that they wanted. So I want to offer them that. And I target them on SMS, which no one else is really doing SMS. So they're intrigued when they receive this message. Then that's why I was able to get 10 sales calls per day. So when it comes to the message, just be very human as possible. Be as human as possible. You want to use robots and you don't want to look like a robot. That's the goal. So when I use like cold email, the subject line, I never capitalize anything. So what people really hang up on is like they want to be this branding expert and make everything look pretty and cool. And that is the exact opposite of what you want to do. So anytime you go into your inbox, you see two different types of emails. You see emails from people and then you see emails from companies. And you can easily tell which one is which because from a person, you know that, okay, this guy made mistakes and everything. And so I know that this is just a human trying to reach out to me. And when you know that it's a human trying to reach out to you, you feel more connected to it and you feel like you are obligated to respond to it because they're trying to reach out to you and you have to respond back. Yeah. When it's very perfect and everything's clean and they use HTML in the email and it's got all these photos and everything, it's like click this button, in the email, then it's like, okay, I know a robot just sent this out. It was an automated thing, so I have no connection. There's nothing in this that I really enjoy. And so when you're sending on any platform, you want to look human and making mistakes is a good thing. And then having a direct offer. So saying, this is the end result that you're going to get. So when I do like a text message, I'll say, hey, I can bring you 40 companies that are in need of running a PPC campaign this month if you're interested. So if I'm targeting marketing agencies, they know what a PPC campaign is. They know that I'm reaching out directly to them because I'm saying that word, right? It's kind of like that key word. I'm also saying their first name. There's like variables. So a variable is using their first name or their company name. And so I'll say, hey, first name, I found your company. And then I'll say the company name online. And so using that makes it also look very personal, like I'm reaching out directly to you. And so, that's what I would say in terms of the message.
Cool. Very cool. Dude, this has been awesome. There's so much here for beginners. And I want to close out with, actually 2 more questions. The first one is, we talked about like your propensity to want to break rules and kind of like do things a different way. And it's really tough as a coach. I've seen I'm like, this is how you do it. And then people go and they do exactly what I told them. And it doesn't, they come back, they're like, it didn't work. I'm like, well, it's because you didn't do this little part right. And I didn't think I had to tell you that because I assumed it was common sense. So go back and do it. And then they do it that way. And then it works, but it doesn't work quite as well. And then the moments where I see huge breakthroughs with my clients is when they're not following, they take the principles that I teach them in a method that's worked for me, and then they translate it into a method that's going to work for them. Small example, I do a lot of Facebook outreach, and I explained all of the Facebook principles to one of my students, and he was trying Facebook, looking for groups, and it just for whatever reason, the niche he was trying to reach out for, he didn't feel like that was he didn't feel like that was the best place to reach them. And so he started going to Instagram. And then when he went to Instagram, all of a sudden everything was popping off and he was doing really great. So it wasn't exactly what I told him, but he took the principles and then he applied it to something else that worked for him. And when I was starting, the same thing, it was one line that my coach told me, do research, don't try to do sales. And I was like, oh, it makes so much sense. I wrote my own script from it. I went out and just started messaging businesses. And that's how I got my first 10 clients from this one line that wasn't go use this tool, go be super specific here. And it seems like most entrepreneurs that I talk to have that ability to just be like, okay, here's a principle. This is how I apply it to my situation. How do you develop that skill?
Yeah, it's funny because I think about this a lot where I'll have clients that will just be like, hey, this one thing isn't working. I need you to fix it. And it's like, dude, why don't you just – when I was younger and I needed something to be fixed, and I'm sure most of us have this situation. Okay, let's say, as an example, the TV is on some channel and I need it to go to HDMI 3. And it's or the Wi-Fi stops working. And your parents are like, Karston, fix the Wi-Fi. Obviously, I want to fix the Wi-Fi because I want to get back on my video games. So I'm trying to figure out anything that I can to get, I'm just testing all these different things. How do I get the Wi-Fi fixed? And I'm doing all these unorthodox things, and all of a sudden, Wi-Fi comes back on. They're like, Karston, you're a genius because you fixed the Wi-Fi. And it's like, oh, I just pressed the reset button. I unplugged and plugged it back in. And so when it comes to this, I see a lot of people just being robots. And so when there's workers, right, and I'm sure when you're hiring, you have this same, because I've kind of asked you about hiring today, but you have the same issue where it's like you have people that just blindly follow like just step by step, and then like, oh, something went wrong, it broke, and it's like, well, why don't you just try to figure it out? Like if you figured it out, we won't be having this conversation. And so there's robots where they just like blindly follow. There's certain jobs that people do where it's like, just do this task. If this, then that. Like if this is the case, then you want to do this thing. If this is the case, you want to do that thing, which is what a robot does. And then there's creators who create the automations, create the robots, create everything that's around you, and they just try to figure out the problem themselves. And so I have so many people that come to me and they're like, can you fix this thing? Whether they're my clients or they're not. And how do I do this? How do I do that? Like very specifics. And I'm like, dude, I spent the time to try to figure this stuff out. I built out these tools myself. Like I did all this stuff trying to get to where I am. Why can't you just fix this one very simple problem yourself instead of coming and wasting my time? And obviously I'm not like trying to be rude about it, but it's like, just be a creator. Like just when you run into a problem, what I did, which was like, I could only get 2 to 3 sales calls a week. I needed more. I'm going to try to find any solution that I can to get more of these sales calls. And so it's like I just had to go out and fix the problem because it wasn't going to get fixed any other way. I couldn't blame somebody else because I wasn't getting sales calls, So
extreme responsibility. And it reminds me, I just released a video about being an asshole, which is like you just ask questions over and over and over again, and you don't actually think for yourself. And that's actually like if you go back to the very first YouTube video I ever released is what's wrong with the world and how to fix it. And my point in there is think for yourself. Like everybody, it's not just like in business, it's in literally everything. Like we're just mindless drones going around. Like if you asked half the people in college why they're in college, they'll probably say like, I don't know. It's just like what you're supposed to do, right? If you ask half the people working a job why they're working a job, they're going to say like, oh, I don't know. I just thought I'd get a job. And we don't actually take the time to think deeply about issues. And that's why it doesn't work. And part of becoming an entrepreneur, and this is a skill I've had to focus on as a coach. If I'm a coach and someone comes to me and says it's not working, I'm like, cool, go fix it. Like this is what I would do. I told these principles work. Like they work. I know they work because they didn't just work for me. They worked for these 5 other people. So figure out what's not working for you. And we have to learn how to do that with ourselves, like be a leader or a coach to our own minds. So when we come to ourselves with a problem, instantly think, okay, how can I make this work? Not, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And eventually you'll come to a solution.
Yeah. And I think that's a problem that I ran into when I started, which was I would buy all these courses and I expected like, if I just buy it, I'll get the end result. And I just kind of put the blame on the other person. It's like the course that I was buying, saying like, oh, they have all the answers and I'll just get the results out of it because they have all the answers. And I just didn't accept the responsibility. And then they would be like, do this task. And I basically do the exact task that they would do. I'm like, okay, click there and then click that button and then click that button. And so I would just do the exact same things that they would do, trying to get the end result that they were getting. And they would say in the course, right, you want to be a free thinker. You want to like be creative and not just copy everything that I do. But I would just copy the exact same thing that they did, expecting the same result. But sometimes it just didn't work. So, like when it comes to when people are like, I need a DM script, like I need a script for how to DM people and like, what's my follow-up message? What do I do there? Which, sure, I believe in scripts and like it's easy to sell a script because people are like, oh, I just copy and paste. Like I just need templates. But the best results that I've gotten are things that I just came up with myself. And so like some of the scripts that I sell now or like that I give away now are from because I just came up with it myself and I was like, maybe this will work. I tried it and it worked really well. And then it's like, nobody else is doing this. And so, like a lot of like right now, people are using the exact same subject headline, which is quick question, all lowercase. And we've all probably seen those in our inbox. But now it's just becoming repeated and repeated and repeated. And so then, your brain's really good at deciphering what's human and what's not. And so if everyone's using quick question, then we're going to be able to be like, okay, that is just an automation. I'm going to find, if a human's trying to reach out to me, that's not a human trying to reach out to me. And so if I'm using the same subject line as everybody else, just because I saw someone else do it and I just regurgitated it and tried it again, then it's, you're going to get the same results as everybody else, if not less, because, the market adapts, right? And so you have to adapt.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like the Sam Ovens sold his VSL in like it was everywhere. Like everybody was running Sam Ovens VSL for 2 years until it didn't work anymore.
Yeah.
And then now everybody's running, the Tanager Chittisters conversion conversations thing, or whatever else the next thing is. Like, it's like this, it's cool and it works when it's unique. And then the minute it's not unique, you have to pivot. And that's like, I'm sorry, it's just life. Like, it's not, it's not you. It's not like you're the only person that this isn't working for. It's just that depending on your niche and depending on the time of year and the time of, how somebody's feeling when they get a message from you, or whether they're busy or not, like things may or may not work. And that's why volume's so important as well. But it's hopefully to anyone listening, like take this in the kick in the butt as the kick in the butt you need to actually just sit down in a room alone by yourself and think about what you would do. Like the answer's already inside of you. And the minute you accept that, you'll progress so much faster than everyone around you.
Yeah. And obviously having coaching is very, very valuable because like they can just answer that question. Cause like, when we talk to people, they say like, what's the problem? Like I need to fit like this huge hurdle to them. And it's like, dude, it's literally just a pebble. And so then it's like, oh, this is what it is, which is cool. But a lot of the times when when I'm in a situation like, I don't know how I'm going to pay rent. I don't know how this is going to work. And it's like, I'm here today. And it's like, I just had to figure it out. I did a lot of laps around here to be like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And so, which I think a lot of people, they just want to push the blame off to somebody else. So just don't do that.
Yeah. That's great. So, what piece of advice would you give to someone starting out? Just one piece, like 1 or 2 sentences. How would you put together your approach to building a successful company to somebody just starting out?
If it's for specifically this, right? If they wanted to get more appointments and to build a successful company that way, I'd say invest in tools and invest in learning how to use those tools. So that'd be my main thing.
That's great. And for those listening, where can they get access to all these tools that have enabled you to build such a successful appointment setting business, Karston?
Well, we have tools in our offer. So you can get these tools wherever you want to, right? You can get them online. You can pay separately for them. But in our coaching offer that we provide, we give you access to all the tools that you need. So an Instagram sending tool, so an automation to just send Instagram messages out consistently every single day. This Facebook sending tool that I just showed you that made me $10,000 in 3 weeks. A LinkedIn sending tool, SMS sending tool, an email sending tool, and a list building tool. So basically, if you want to find solar companies in Fresno, California, how do I find those, right? It would give you all the emails, all the phone numbers. So basically, we give you all those tools as a part of the coaching. So that's why I wanted to create this offer, because it's like we give you the tools, so you're investing in the tools, and you're investing in learning how to use those tools. And I didn't just come up with that piece of advice to try to sell this. I thought of that before I ever come up with this, because I was like, what if there was a coaching out there that could provide these things? Like they could provide the tools and a coaching on how to use them.
Very cool. Yeah. How much would those tools cost if you were to buy them all individually?
Yeah, so it's usually, I think they're each $100. So for the first 4 tools, so that's $400 a month. Plus the other tool is, if you're trying to pay per contact, like there's a lot of tools. The list building tool that I talked about, usually you pay anywhere between 50 cents and $1 per contact. And so let's just say you're getting 5,000 contacts a month. That's another $5,000 you have to spend on which is just like emails and phone numbers, right? Which is very expensive. But this tool is included in the program, and you get unlimited contacts. So it could be anywhere between $400 and a couple $1,000 for the tools, depending on how you use them.
And how much can they get the tools for in our program?
Well, they can get them for $900 a month, depending on what they want to do. So
$900 a month includes all the coaching and all of the software products. So everything you need, it's month to month. You don't have any long-term commitments. Like the fastest route to growing your agency is right here. You've got Karston to help you book the calls. You've got me to help you manage the clients. And, we only want to help you if we actually can help you. And so we're not going to sell it to you if you don't need it. But truly, honestly believe that this is the best offer out there right now.
Which is funny because I sent you some guy I talked to yesterday or the day before. He
Mhm.
said if I had this when I started out, I would have sold my kidney.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because man, I wish I had this when I started out. And so
Yeah.
I wouldn't have bought, I bought so many other courses, so many other
Yeah.
programs, and it's like, this is what I wish I had. And so that's why I offer it.
Very cool. Awesome. Karston, thank you so much for coming on, man. And if anybody's looking to join the coaching program, links are all down below. You can also check out the individual versions of the softwares that we talked about, verify that they actually do cost that much. And please book a call, talk with Karston. He's the one taking the calls right now. And we'll hope to see you on the inside of the coaching program soon.